Are you crazy? What is Sioux Falls? Oh, where is it? And why Sioux Falls? Well, those are some of the questions I was asked when we began what we hoped would be a worldwide organization, and we decided that it needed not only a place online, but it needed a place called home. And you know, when you are building your online, when you are building your digital business, you will find that it's important that you have a home too. And so we're going to talk about why we chose Sioux Falls and what that can mean to you. A little bit about Jesus choosing his place. And then finally we'll encourage you to take time in 2020 to quit your soul-sucking job. I'm Stan Hughes, so the program is The Master Entrepreneur, the Master Apprentice, the follower of the Master Entrepreneur. And the program, it begins right now.
Come listening to a radio station where the mighty host of heaven sing. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. If you want to hear the songs of Zion coming from the land of endless spring, get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on.
Well, as an old-time radio guy, that is one of my favorite songs, so we take about 25 seconds and lift it up and just put it in place there, perhaps to pick up a little bit of the energy and see if we can make it attractive to you and hopefully bring you in. This is an iPod radio broadcast. Some people call them a podcast. It is the future. That's right. The traditional radio station is in deep trouble, not because they're bad, but because the technology is somewhat obsolete, and unfortunately, it's still quite expensive. And so what's going to happen is that more and more of the audio content, the so-called radio that you listen to, will move away from that traditional means, and of course that little machine you carry in your pocket called a smartphone will be the way that you will not only get your emails, your texts, your internet service, it'll probably be the way you get your radio. And it will be radio where you can listen to the program anytime you want, anywhere you want, on demand. In effect, that's what it means, iPod. Individual, personal, on demand. And Steve Jobs was a genius. He said people want to listen to their music when they want to listen to it, and they want to listen to it by themselves. And that is where the iPod came from. And, of course, it indeed changed the world. And, you know, that is what caused Apple Computer to rename themselves. You said, well, they're Apple. They were Apple Computer. Now they are just Apple. Think about that. That was a major decision, a major change. Here we go. Let me try and tell you a little bit about the show, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. I've been involved in radio all my life, if being a fan, listener, and a hobbyist, and a ham radio operator, and then as a teacher, finding that I really wanted to be back on the radio, and so I went back to broadcasting school, learned from some of the best, studied with the BBC, and I still find that radio is something that I believe can stir your mind, move your spirit, and maybe even touch your heart, sometimes even far better than the visual. Because as one young man said, you know why I like radio better than television? Because the pictures are better. It is truly a theater of the mind. And one of our complimentary works at the Christian Entrepreneur Network is What It Takes Radio. TCEN Global is a nonprofit network designed to help you. This program is brought to you by the network, but we're also in the business of helping you embrace and use the new media for your organization, your ministry, your church, your place of business, the people who want to get their message out into the world. That's how they will do it today. In fact, I am now suggesting that before you write a book, don't write the book, do a podcast first, and then let the podcast help guide you and direct you into what you do to turn the spoken word, the storytelling word, into printed word. So if you're thinking about writing a book, think about podcasting first. And I can help you do just that, because we're here to help you make your mark in the marketplace. Well, here's the story of Sioux Falls. And for those of you who may not know, it's located in the upper Midwestern state of South Dakota. Obviously, there's a North Dakota and a South Dakota, and Sioux Falls is one of the more prominent cities. And in Sioux Falls, most cities are kind of just large towns, small cities. It is a place where agriculture, cowboy ethos, scenic beauty, and now technology and all kinds of other manufacturing concerns are finding that perhaps it's good to be in the heartland of the nation, or the heartland place, if you want to create a place to live, a place to do business, and a place that might even give you inspiration to touch the hearts of people. Now, I was first really connected to Sioux Falls in a very unusual way. It goes back many years now when I was first doing my work as a business performance coach. And I discovered a new idea, because I had been in the radio business, and I had sitting in front of me what was at that time a very expensive cassette recorder just sitting there on my desk. I wasn't using it that much because I had taken a break from the radio business, but I was now coaching clients, and it was going quite well for me. And as one said, Stan, it would be great if you could kind of write up a reminder. We've had a great session together, but I'm busy. Could you perhaps write up a reminder of what we talked about, kind of to help get me going? Well, I knew that wasn't something that would probably get read. They're too busy. And so what I did, I may have invented the first podcast. What I did is I went into a place and I ordered a whole bunch of those little blank cassettes, you could just record on yourself. And they were 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. So, of course, you flip it over, you got 20 minutes. And what I did is, after I had a coaching session, I sat down, and then I stood up, put myself together, put my microphone together, had a small mixing board, and I would record a little 10-minute personal radio program, personal audio postcard, and I would send it to my clients so they could, listen to it in their automobile, listen to it in the privacy of their own place whenever they wanted to. They loved it. As one guy said to me, I can listen to you in the privacy of my car. My secretary's not going to read the memo. It's something that I can play 2 or 3 times, and it's a great remembrance. And so many of my clients were entrepreneurs, and remember the dyslexia rate among entrepreneurs, men and women who have a little bit of hard time reading because they suffer from the affliction, in some cases, that words are hard to understand because their brain kind of scrambles some of the spelling. It's a condition you can get over, but it's very difficult. In fact, Richard Branson, who is one of the ultimate entrepreneurs with his Virgin outfit, is a severe dyslexic. And he just simply has a hard time reading. And one of my top clients said, I wouldn't have gotten through college if it wasn't for my wife, because I can study and I know the stuff, but I have a hard time typing or writing and getting it right. And she said she would type my papers for me and correct my English and grammar. And I said, and maybe give you some good ideas. And he said, yeah, that's for sure too. Well, that's what happened. And I gave it to this client. And he had a good friend who was going through some struggles, who lived in Sioux Falls, and he simply said to him, let me send you the cassette from my coach. And now, I had done it for him. And he thought the information was good enough for his friend, so he put it in the mail and sent it to him. And I got a call from Verge DeYoung in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And we became not only coaching clients and colleagues, we became very good friends, and now we're actually collegial together in the TCEN Global Christian Entrepreneur Network, and Verge is located in Sioux Falls. So that was my encounter with Sioux Falls, and later on he introduced me to some other people there. He had me brought into town, and in being brought into town and speaking at a club meeting for an insurance association, I met other people from Sioux Falls, so I liked Sioux Falls. Pleasant, growing little city. But, there it was. In just the last few years, I've become very impressed with the idea that we need to have a way to discover our strengths. And so we are fundamentally involved in helping you discover what's good about you, what's right about you. And so the Gallup Strength Finder, which is used by hundreds, thousands of organizations around the world, Jim Clifton put that together. He's the CEO of Gallup, and he did so in such a way that it combined much of the work that his father had done in helping people discover, I love the expression that my friend David McKnight used, let's find out what's good about you, what your strengths are, what your abilities are. Let's not talk about your personality or anything like that. Let's talk about what you may have been designed. You may even have an interior DNA that you can be strong. And let's do what we're good at. Let's do what we're strong at, and perhaps delegate everything but our genius. And as I say, I never do my weakness. I delegate my weakness to somebody who can do what I can't do and what I'm not very good at doing. So that was the story of how that happened. Now, I hope that will be helpful to you, because I discovered that in a book called The Entrepreneurial Strength Finders, Jim Clifton talked about Sioux Falls, South Dakota as being one of the premier places where the culture and the people and the very spirit of the place and the people in that place, all of a sudden, this small town was growing into a significant city because it really encouraged and fostered the startup thinking, the risk-taking, the spirit of camaraderie and community well-being, so vital for entrepreneurs, for startup founders, for finding the resources, the people, and the place where you can make a home, live in a good city, build a business, and be centrally located in such a way, and using the modern media, you can build a world-class business right in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I live primarily in Tucson, Arizona, and I decided, no, it's not going to be Tucson, except for one of the programs we will be presenting called the Cowboy Entrepreneur. Oh, you're going to love the Cowboy Entrepreneur. And that part of our offerings to you will, of course, be located right here in some of the most beautiful guest and dude ranches in the world, located right here in Cowboy Country, Cowboy Country, Arizona. More about that later. But this is about Sioux Falls and why we did just that. Well, that's the program so far. Give me about 5 or 6 more minutes to finish it up. But now you know a little bit about why we chose Sioux Falls. But there's more to the story, and we'll do that next. Isn't it interesting that everybody talks about innovation? Well, what Jim Clifton says is innovation is not our problem. It's taking innovation, which we have plenty of, and finding men and women of heart, mind, spirit, and courage and strength who will then take innovations and bring them to the marketplace in a way that is practical and profitable. That's the deal, and that's what you got to do. Well, when I began coaching Verge, I had encountered my former student because we were working on a project together, and he beat me to it. He wrote the book. His name was Joe Pine, and he called the book, The Experience Economy, Work is Theater, and Every Business is Stage. Work is theater, and every business is stage, and that's true. That's not a metaphor. That's a model. That's reality. And at the same time, I, with a woman named Helena Halverson, who was involved very much in the insurance business and seeking to make an impact in the senior care business, we were talking about kind of creating a business that had kind of a dramatic model to it. We got scooped by Joe and his partner Jim, and as a result, he wrote a book called just that, The Experience Economy, Work is Theater, and Every Business a Stage. And so I started to teach that to Verge, who was in the insurance business. And then he took me next door and introduced me to his friend, Verge 2. It was Verge DeYoung, and this was Virgil Christoffel, who had gone from a simple barbershop to a hair replacement business, both for people who did it for cosmetic reasons, like me when I wore a hairpiece, and of course for those because of medical reasons needed that. And we talked about the experience economy. And here you go. They did it in their business and in their shops long before anybody else did. Literally, the experience economy had its real roots in two entrepreneurs named Virgil in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then I shared it with another gentleman who, because of other reasons with his business, would prefer to be remaining anonymous. And if I used his name, many of you in Sioux Falls would know who he is. A gentleman, a fine Christian gentleman. But he was in also the financial services, and he was struck by the idea. And so he reframed his traditional insurance and financial services business into an attempt to create an experience, built an office building that reflects the whole idea of not just having a place of business, but a place of community, of storytelling, of coming together, of experience. My friends, that happened years ago. Not in New York, not in L.A., not in Vegas. It happened in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And so it seems right to me that what we should do is, Jesus was very strategic choosing his place. Born in Bethlehem. Royal David City. But Nazareth. Can any good come out of Nazareth? Then he plans where he's going to make after his 18 years apprenticeship. Remember, he was an entrepreneur for 18 years before he felt called by God to the ministry of true entrepreneurialism, spiritual entrepreneurialism, to the experience economy of literally transforming lives. He was an entrepreneur in the craftsman business, maybe even the handyman business for 18 years, and then he moved forward. But he was very strategic in choosing places where he would stay and places where he would minister. And then, of course, he knew that you don't go to the big city until you've learned how to cope with the people who will be different in the big city. And then he took it to Jerusalem. My friends, we would like to help you. We have a variety of things we can do to help you build your business. We can make it happen for you. We're located in Sioux Falls, and we want to be the spirit home of the startup nation. We want to be the people who will help hundreds and thousands and maybe millions of people who are tired of their soul-sucking job. And that's the class that begins today. They're tired of their soul-sucking job. They need more variety. They need not to be dead. They need multiple streams of income. They need better control of their own destiny. Yesterday I talked to a young man, and I could just tell he hated what he had. Good job, good company, good opportunity, but it was killing him. And so I'm going to encourage you to join me. Here we go, tcenglobal.org. That's where we hang out. And then we're going to be having events in Sioux Falls, perhaps in the Lincoln-Omaha corridor, certainly in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where we have other people. And what we want to do is, using this facility, the internet radio, the video, and then real home, real places, help you to become everything God may want you to be, that you may want to be, that you'll find that life is best lived when you live under the apprenticeship of Jesus, and then you follow the master entrepreneur and become one yourself. Please reach out to me at radioedge77@gmail.com, radioedge77@gmail.com. Raise your hand. Just simply say, I could use some help, and we can help you. Spirit force. That's right. SF means spirit force. That's why we're different. We take Sioux Falls and we say, in effect, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, the force be with you, but it's the spirit force. And if you want to do it well, you'll take seriously our challenge that it's not just what you'll learn in Sioux Falls and other places, it's will you take seriously the fact that the spirit force must be with you. Indeed it must. That's true, whether we like it or not. Thank you for your time. You've been very kind, very generous, and we look forward to seeing you in Sioux Falls, if you're there, or if you'll come there. We look forward to doing more work on the radio, on the video, and maybe you'll even come. We say, if you become it, and if you build it, they just might come. And we invite you. Come on in. Find a home. Find a place. Find a way to live your life. Find a way to do business the way you want to do business. May it go well with you. Best and blessings. Till next time, I'm Stan Houston for the Master Entrepreneur. Bye for now.